evening to all of you. You're watching Lok Sabha TV. I'm Anurag Punetha with you. Today, we are going to talk about government's action of sending 12 officers, 12 senior officers of Income Tax Department into packing. The Government of India has come down heavily on corruption and decided to send 12 officers in Income Tax Department termed on social media as a surgical strike of Modi government on corruption. 12 senior government officers, including a chief commissioner, principal commissioners and commissioner of the Income Tax Department, were directed by the Finance Ministry to retire under Rule 56 of the General Financial Rule GFRs. As per the sources and the reports, these officers have been found guilty of corruption, having illegal and disproportionate assets and, in fact, sexual harassments. Orders issued by the Finance Ministry has quoted that the President retires these officials with immediate effect from the afternoon of June 11, that means today. Such an action is considered as penalty and the government believes that it will act as a deterrent for the others. At present, retirement age is 60 years, so loss of approximately 10 years of service means loss in terms of the benefits and the perks for that period and loss of honor for whole life. As per reports, the Cabinet Secretariat and the Central Vigilance Commission had over the past few days given verbal instructions to the vigilance heads in the many departments to expedite the process of identifying officers for compulsory retirement under Fundamental Rule 56J of the Central Civil Service Rule 1972. The performance of an officer who has turned 50 or 55 or has completed 30 years of service is being reviewed to ascertain if he or she is liable for compulsory retirement or not. When this purging was being done, Prime Minister also interacted with the secretaries of all ministries and pushing them to come out with an impactful decision for which approvals will have to be taken within 100 days. He said that the people were yearning for a better life and the government must focus on ensuring ease of living and asked the officials to begin work on the making India a $5 trillion economy. So this may be an attempt of this government to deliver, as a couple of steps have been taken on policy level and how to get the things done. As Prime Minister saying repeatedly that the recently concluded elections have been marked by the pro-incumbency, for which credit must be given to the team of officials which worked hard, conceived schemes and delivered excellent results on the ground. So in totality, good optics with a genuine intent, and government is trying to break the status quo. How this will affect in achieving good governance, and will such a step deter corrupt officials and encourage honest officers in future? We are going to discuss in this edition of Public Forum. And joining me in the program are two guests. Ms. Shailja Chandra has joined me. Ms. Chandra has been the former Chief Secretary of Delhi. Very warm welcome to the show, ma'am. My second guest is Mr. R.K. Tiwari, Chairman, CBDT, retired. Very warm welcome to the show, Mr. Tiwari. But would like to begin the program with you, Ms. Chandra. Well, how would you react to such news when the marching orders have been given to these people? At least the identification have been done. Will it affect the working style, and let's say, will it work like a deterrent to others? How do you see?
It would have a huge impact, because FR 56J, under which you can retire a person prematurely, has been there for years, decades. Yeah. But there is a fear about using it, because there's a fear that it would not withstand court scrutiny. And the fact is that we all know in the service, in any service, everyone knows who are the people who are the bad eggs. But nobody would like to act under this provision, because you need to have some evidence, you need to have some documentation. Okay. It can be found if you take the trouble, but most people don't. Here, when they have done it, and in case it has been done with documentation, with a certain, you might say, reasoning behind why it was justified, I think it would send a very strong message that A, deadwood, or people who are corrupt, or people who are in any way compromised, sexual offences included, would definitely feel that they are now under the scanner, and that being so, performance will go up immeasurably. Okay. I, however, feel that it should not lead to a feeling that there is a witch hunt. It may not happen. There may be proper systems, processes, and there might be a completely, you might say, transparent way within the government of doing it. But if the feeling gets around that it is being done on a pick and choose basis, I'm not talking about these 12 cases, I'm talking about hundreds or maybe thousands which might follow.
Yeah.
It has to have backing which has completely something which, if an outside person looks at the data, he would also say, yes, this is a case which should have gone.
Okay.
This requires certain due diligence. If that diligence is done, there will be no doubt that it will have great impact on the way the bureaucracy works. And I must say that we can look at bureaucrats in 2 or 3 categories. There are some who shoulder the work of 3 officers sometimes, because they are so motivated, they are so capable of imagining the best ways, strategies to be able to handle a situation, a small situation or a huge one. Our officers really have the brains to do it, and they have the perseverance to do it. But there are others who only look upon the service, any service, as a means to an end, which is a personal end. How to be, have power, glory, how to ingratiate yourselves with more and more people in power. This happens. And third is the situation where you get the spoils of office, clearly corruption, maybe not for yourself, but you do it in a very smart way through your family, through other relatives or through other people. That's not what's important. What is important is it does happen. We all know, the grapevine knows it very well. If this is allowed to continue, no government can function. On the other hand, I would say there are other things that affect the bureaucracy. Corruption and lack of perseverance is not the only one. There are factors like, I would say, the ability to get after, let's look at municipal governance. If there is completely, you might say, solid waste being thrown into your drains, all kind, how many municipal commissioners really take action and mean it? There is that fear that politicians will either make life uncomfortable, or you would be seen as a person who is, sort of a pain in the neck, and you are spending too much time on inessentials, and you would get marginalized. If that can also be supported, officers who are strong and who take action are given their due, and they are not punished for taking action, then I think what the government and what India needs badly is both development as well as enforcement against defying the rule of law. At the municipal level, at much higher levels also, there is an open defiance and currying favor with people in authority, people who are moneyed people, people who are seen as people who can help you behind the scene, should be absolutely considered to be wrong. It should not be considered as something wo chalta hai. ये तो आप जानते हैं कि ऐसे आदमी पर क्या, तो ऐसे तो हम भुगतने पड़ते हैं ऐसे लोगों को. This is wrong. Then the message should be loud and clear that nobody, howsoever close to authority and power, can get away from it.
Okay. Mr. Tiwari, your perception, I mean, this is a general perception amongst the, especially the, let's say, the government offices, that people by and large know about who are the corrupt people, and let's say the officers are there. But this chalta hai attitude normally, keep the things going. How do you see that when marching orders have been given to these people, and so this message has been given, is it a right move? Is it a correct move? To send the signals to the corrupt people?
It is a very correct move. Rather, it is a very stern move. And warning not only to the officers of Income Tax Department, but to entire bureaucracy.
Okay.
This is a move. Second thing, if I remember in 85-86, similar action was taken against some senior officers of Income Tax Department. And it is after 34 years, this action is being taken.
Okay.
So, this is a bit, I feel that should have been more often such action should be taken, so that the things have not gone to that extent, that bad. Second thing, the details of these person which have been published in paper, so that they have been under cloud for last so many years. And government has woken up now and has shown the material that they can be shown the marching orders, but had it been done earlier, then many
things would have been different.
So, what I feel that this chalta hai attitude should go now. The message is very clear. Now, there cannot be any chalta hai attitude. You have to perform, you have to be accountable. And this 56J is just a not that strong measure if you see, because it is just giving you retirement. and that there should have been much more than that. But okay, something is better than that, it is there, bad people. Now, what I feel that the delay is because of procedure.
Okay.
If you see these vigilance matters take too much time to complete. There are so many stages, first from complaint to charge sheet, then from charge sheet inquiry, then their culmination, advice of DOP, advice of UPSC, then making a person, punishing the person, then he may go to CAT order, and these takes around 10 years.
Okay.
There are more than 50 stages where the file goes, and then disciplinary authority procedure, anywhere it is lacking, then court may come heavily struck down this. So, this is a very, need is there to simplify the procedure and make it
simplify the procedure for identification and let's say
for identification and for entire procedure for making a person accountable and bringing to the end of the proceeding from complaint stage till the person is punished. Because this is a why media giving him a marching order, but better will be if he is punished.
Okay.
If he is actually punished under conduct rule, there are major penalties under conduct rule, there are minor penalties under conduct rule. So, voluntary, this is a compulsory retirement of 56J, where he is given 3 months salary, then other benefits may accrue. I do not know exactly what is the situation. So, this is the situation.
Okay. Do you buy this argument? Secondly, people are of the opinion that this is not a punishment first. This is a kind of a what you call government is giving them a safe passage, I mean, to go. I mean, government knew that these people were corrupt, so probably they gave some sort of a passage to them to, I mean, call it quits and put in papers. So, people are of the opinion. Do you buy this argument?
You see, it is on paper not a punishment. In fact, the rule in fact says so. This is not a penal provision in that sense.
Okay.
You've weeded out somebody, you've given him his full pension, you've allowed him to go. But if you are a person who has come through a competitive exam, after all, the Indian Revenue Service, the IAS, we've come through a very, very difficult exam.
Yeah, exactly.
You have really attained what most of the population which tried could not attain. It is a huge loss of face. In society, you really can't apply for other jobs very easily. People will say, why did you leave? And the grapevine is strong enough to say why you were asked to go. So, it is a fact that it is not a punishment like what Trivedi Sahib has just referred to, where you actually can be dismissed, removed from service, compulsorily retired, which is different from being asked to go under FR 56J. But it becomes very difficult even for a person of 50 years with experience, with all the credentials to get a job, because any employer will ask you, what did you leave the service for? And it's very easy to find out that you were chucked out. It is not as though you volunteered to go. You can volunteer at 20 years and go honorably. This, I think, might give a message to people who are, you might say, in the group which might get into FR 56 trouble or into any disciplinary proceedings. I think it might give a signal to them. It's better to put in your papers at 20 years and go honorably by saying, I have taken voluntary retirement and go and join the private sector or go and join some other professional organization, because you have the experience, you have the credentials, rather than wait for this sword of Damocles to come. I have handled FR 56J a few times in my service career, and I know it is extremely difficult to handle. That they did it is really, I would say, remarkable. Not because the rule is difficult. On paper, it looks quite simple, in fact. But to produce the documentation, to find the people who will all come together to say, yes, there's...
But what is more cumbersome? I mean, to take action legally, let's say fire a person or corrupt officials, or let's say pushing them to under this section, which is more
undoubtedly, this is simpler. This is much simpler, because you don't go through 36 to 50 stages of a disciplinary inquiry. Those stages, I have long argued that we should change the CCS conduct rules and the vigilance rules and the disciplinary authority rules, because you do not need in government to have hire and fire. It was, after all, it was Sardar Patelji who had seen that Article 311, which gives complete protection to government servants at all levels, is there. It's in the Constitution, it's in the Acts.
Okay.
which govern. So I think that that security of tenure is absolutely essential for government servants to act in an impartial and fearless way. And to do away with that would really be the thin end of the wedge. Then you can just hire and fire as they do in the private sector. That is not what government is. Government is much bigger than any private sector and must have people of trust who can carry on and not be just hired and fired at whim.
Okay.
But having said that, I would still say that the rules are extremely cumbersome. You can get yourself out of the news at any time. You can see that your file is lost. It is never taken up at all. It can go on and on forever. You can keep slamming somebody, or हमारा case तो पता नहीं हम फंसे हुए हैं, पर वो तो मैंने तो कुछ किया नहीं.
Okay.
It can go on, and bosses will change, and maybe some benefactor, political or otherwise, might come and just take you out of the whole net, in which case, culpable as you are, you can get out of it. So I would say that that needs to change
So
drastically.
should we presume that these these officers who have been given these orders, marching orders, the inquiry probably were going on since last couple of years?
Possibly, I don't have the details,
Okay.
but it's impossible that there wouldn't be documentation. Impossible. So that means either there were inquiries, or there were complaints, or there were something which was brewing in the background. It's not possible that you just pick up a name and say that I don't like this guy. It's impossible. In the central government, I have never heard of such a thing happening.
Okay. So if it is not the punishment, if this argument comes, though it's very quite simpler, people are also saying that why not prosecute these officers and these people under the PC Act, Prevention of Corruption Act, and why take this sort of
there are two separate things. This is a under conduct rule. Conduct rule is as a government servant, if you perform your duty not in accordance with the prescribed rules, then you are subject to either disciplinary action or maybe under 56J you can be compulsorily retired.
Okay.
This is one part of the.
Okay.
But if there is a criminal angle in your action, then PC, that corruption angle is a separate thing. That is a different thing. Suppose CBI has raided a person, found a disproportionate asset, that will be separate. That punishment under Criminal Act.
Okay.
This is not action. This is not a punishment. This is an action under conduct rule.
Under conduct rule.
Conduct rule, and that will be an action under that is Prevention of Corruption Act. That is a criminal act.
Okay.
So there is a distinction between two. So this action has been taken to compulsory retire because government thought they are that would not worth to pay them beyond this now. Okay, we have tolerated them for so many years. No, let them retire. But other actions, if there is any criminal angle to their actions, conduct, misconduct, that will be separate action under those acts.
Okay.
The second thing which I will like to tell that the government job has been taken as if it is for granted. Once you enter, then you retire and take pension and whatever you perform. There are three aspects of our conduct rule. One is conduct, you have to work with full integrity.
Yeah.
That is the basic requirement. Then you should be devoted to your duty. And third, you should not do anything which is unbecoming of a government servant.
Okay.
Today, if you ask any government servant, do you know these three things? He is not aware.
He's not aware.
When he is caught somewhere, then he finds out some way, as madam said, to find out some advocate, go to CAT, them find some technical lacuna, prolong the proceeding. Either file is lost or something is lost, then you are not suffering, you are getting your promotion because no charge sheet is against you.
Okay.
Then you retire also because you are not charge sheeted.
Okay.
So, therefore, the requirement is to strengthen our system, our procedure to make a person does a misconduct punished very swiftly.
Okay.
So that he knows that what he had done and what he is and he is accountable then. So today the accountability concept in our government system is very dilute actually, I will say that, and that needs to be strengthened.
Okay. According to you, what further steps should be taken to expedite the process, to identification and let's say the prosecuting these people, the corrupt officials, and let's say pushing them out of the system?
In some other countries, I'm told Canada is one of them, maybe Britain started with it, I'm not very sure, but there is usually a kind of a committee of officers, and they're not all your bosses or people known to you. They could be from different walks, before whom when a complaint goes, it is first looked at whether prima facie there is really some substance. Secondly, there is a hearing given right ab initio when the complaint comes to the officer.
Okay.
Let me tell you that when a complaint comes, it is usually because of three elements. One is that somebody, maybe a contractor, maybe some business contract has been done out and would like to target you because they have not got the contract. This man took money and that's how it happened. The second kind of complaint that comes against officers is that they are people who are really people who should be complained against because they have done something, but it's a vague kind of an allegation.
Okay.
It cannot be substantiated. It's a lot of paper saying a lot of things, but nothing is. And the third is they don't want you to get promoted in that department.
Okay.
They don't want you to succeed because you're a tough officer. If you're a tough officer, you can make trouble for them, or their imaginary trouble that he's going to put down on this lobby, he's not going to allow this, he's going to influence the minister, get rid of them.
Okay.
That also provokes complaints, and very serious complaints. Now, once a complaint comes, you really, unless somebody really is very keen to help you, you can find yourself just put on the shelf. There are enough people in the bottleneck is very thin at the top. You can go on the shelf and you may be a brilliant officer, strong officer, nobody may come to your rescue.
Exactly.
So when that happens, my argument has always been, like in other countries, have a committee which would listen to you. You would immediately, if senior officers are trained to look at the, not just the facts, but the atmosphere in which he is speaking.
Okay.
There are very few officers who would be able to withstand the scrutiny, prima facie scrutiny, to see the reason why this complaint has come against you. If it does appear, and this is not to do with disproportionate asset, that is a matter of fact and has to be investigated by CBI. It's a criminal offense.
Criminal offense.
But I'm talking about this kind of contractors getting after you, people from civil society sometimes, I mean, who have a vested interest getting after you, sometimes advocates get after you. It's all prompted because they don't want you there. So the appointing authority is the president. In these. The president, being the home minister or the health minister or whatever that ministry is, wouldn't know any of this. But if there is a panel which is transparent and people know that this panel has impeccable integrity, it would be possible for an officer to put his case across. Many of the cases, not all, many of the cases may not need to be proceeded with, or may be finished with a minor penalty. A minor penalty is also pretty draconian.
But probably what you're talking is a very idealistic situation.
No,
I mean,
it's
you
not
may not
idealistic.
have the kind of working style, or let's say the working ethics of our people who, let's say, come into the committee, I mean, to find the people and to protect the officers from witch hunting. So, I mean, this may be the idealistic situation, but which is.
I think that they have been doing a 360-degree check on officers.
Okay.
Before they empanel them as secretaries. The same wise men and women can do the same job. After all, it's not idealistic. You have to look for options rather than 30 and 50 stages of an inquiry and leaving a man able to get out of a mess which he should jolly well be chucked out for, simply because of procedures. Those procedures have to be somehow, but there has to be a feeling that you will be protected. You cannot be just turfed out because somebody doesn't like your face.
Okay. You talked about that probably the first time this provision were invoked in 80s, 85. So probably after 30 years, I mean, this has been revoked. So do you think the political will is also important?
Not actually, again the procedure. Political will is one aspect, but second thing, during that time, other people might have gone to court and court have made some restrictions, some more cumbersome procedure to be followed. But one thing I will like to tell, it is not only the procedure of procedure of disciplinary action, but the procedure of governance is also, if it is simplified, then we will check the corruption, then we check the malpractices. Now, coming to my own department now, income tax department, because these are the people from income tax department.
Yeah.
Now, if you see, we have digitized, we have computerized the entire department, and the corruption has gone down to a large extent as far as procedure is concerned. Now you get your refunds in time without any problem. Your filing is so easy, and all, even we are doing now faceless assessment, that your assessment will. So therefore, what I am coming to that, the government servant needs the procedure for discipline very simple. At the same time, government procedures should be simple and transparent.
Okay.
Even for the senior officers now, the assessing officer have a faceless job now. So that helps to bring transparency and all. As Madam told, for the disbursement asset and all these things, you had to go against the officer. But for the procedural lapses, which were otherwise can be commented upon either way, that either it was bona fide or mala fide.
Okay.
So that can be done away with if we make our procedure, our governance procedure simple and transparent. And one way is that to bring the technology for that. And our department, this income tax department,
is
had done a lot for that, and we have simplified procedure to extend that now. Common man has no contact with department, only 1% scrutiny is there, and everything is happening through machine, through bank account, direct transfer. So to that extent, we have minimized.
Technology can be the savior and can be the answer. Okay, my last quick comment from you. So government has done probably send, if I ask you for common man's parlance, that government has sent a right signal to all, to general public, to corrupt people, and to honest officers as well. Government has sent a right signal. Okay, okay, okay.
Certainly support what has been done.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma'am, for coming and talking to us. Thank you very much, Mr. Tiwari, for coming and talking to us. So it may be debatable that the level of punishment to corrupt officials is right or less, but forcing them to leave is also a kind of a stigma to those who remain indulged in hobnobbing and made sure that they don't leave strong trail to pursue. But government has sent a right signal by sending them packing, and this may be a warning signal to those who are also who have been indulged in this kind of practice. That's all we have in this edition of Public Forum. Thank you very much for watching.